Hey everyone, welcome back to the JS Composite Works channel. I should say welcome back to me because I've been horizontal for a better part of a week, nursing a foot that just got operated on, and I'm just now back in the shop as of yesterday and trying to get somewhat caught up, which is impossible. So anyway, still going to try. Anyway, so I am back on this project here, which is the Cape Catamarans mold, the plug and mold. This will be the plug, and I'm going to get back into it where I left off. Where I left off is I had affixed and straight and squared, leveled all of the things to make sure that these are a matching pair, because ultimately these two halves that are built out of this mold have to match up, meet up without building in any kind of internal stresses within the boat. So having a precise fit is the most important part right now. So that's why this is all so important, to make sure that when these two are married up in the final assembly, that everything works like it's supposed to. So everything's been squared up, leveled. Again, I've checked to make sure that we don't have any sort of twist or rack or anything like that in it. So today's task is to basically make sure it stays that way. So what I'm going to end up doing is applying a fillet in the corners where these two meet, where the horizontal and vertical frames meet, so that way there can't be any twist induced, in the process of moving or anything like that, and therefore it becomes a complete one structure rather than being 50 different parts that could independently move. So that being said, I'm going to get down to it and get back into work as fast as I can. All right, so I'm looking at the base of the framework for the deck assembly. This, of course, is going to be the foredeck of the boat. And what I want to do today is because all of these are slotted together, and you can still see this can move. I want to lock this in position. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a fillet of thickened resin in the corner. Don't have to be every single one, but at least each one cross section, one juncture is going to have that on, so that these two independent pieces here cannot independently move in the event that this thing gets, on an unlevel surface for whatever reason. It serves two purposes. One is to make sure that when the molding and everything is locked in, final finish is done, nothing moves. But it also, this again has to be moved. We have to take this down to Florida. And I don't want that process messing up the finished product, because in the event that something, say, happens to the original mold, they can always make another one right off of this because they have the tooling. And then this will, if they, in an ideal situation, they need to make more molds to up production. So they can make more molds as things go along with this. This doesn't have to be recreated if it is built correctly from the start and protected. So the other thing that I'm going to do too, as you can see down here, all of this is open. And I'm going to close all of this in, and that again will add some more structural component to it, locking all the frames together on both sides. And then also too, as you can see, I have a temporary batten on the deck form in order to lock that in position. I'm going to replace that with sheathing that goes on the side of this to close everything off, and that will be structural. So, and aesthetic too. So that's the side benefit. So anyway, I'm going to stop running my mouth and get to work. All right, so now it's time to mix up the fillet blend that I'm using. I have chosen in this instance to use a vinyl ester versus epoxy for one simple reason. It's cold. If I was to use epoxy, we probably would get into a situation where it might still be tacky in the morning, even with fast cure, because my shop temperature does really well. Right now it's set at like 72 degrees. It's lost the battle during the day because our high today was 32. And the temperature in the shop is staying roughly around 65 to 67 degrees internally. The heat's just not kind of keeping up. So I can take vinyl ester and I can max out the catalyst on it, and then, therefore kind of get that curing process compressed down to a short amount of time. I will still have plenty of working time with this, probably about an hour, even at max catalyst. And this is something that, I'm not concerned with, degradation in strength because I'm catalyzing it to the max or anything like that, because all it's going to do is just basically take those frames that can move independently and lock them together with a, 2 to 3 foot long fillet in between them to just kind of stop any kind of movement in there. So, that being said, what am I mixing it with? I'm going to use a combination of colloidal silica and some Q-cell, and Q-cell is a fairing compound. The Q-cell, the only function of the Q-cell is to make it a little bit smoother of a mix. And what I've got out here is, 4 different batches, 350 mils each. I've got my catalyst ready, so I can just start going into it. But I'm going to pre-mix all of the additives into it to get the consistency I want before I catalyze it. But I am catalyzing it, like I said, a bit it is to the max, so that because what I found in vinyl ester is the silica will slow the reaction down. So I want to make sure that it does it before I shut the lights off at the end of the day, and that way I can just keep moving along in this project. So time is of the essence, and this does not affect final finish quality, strength, or anything like that. So I'm opting to go for the quicker route on this. So if it was something that was a finish thing, then I would probably take a different route. But in this case, that's what I'm going with now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing, I've got to put a respirator on, because if you did not know, silica, this is the stuff that is causing all the problems within the countertop industry with workers getting sick. So it is also in the composites industry, because we use that as a additive into resins in order to make it perform mostly an adhesive style function to toughen up that resin matrix. So it actually puts a tiny little bit of fiber and filler into it. So that is something. So I need to find my respirator wherever it might be. I gotta locate it, and then I get that on, and before I start mixing it, because as soon as you dump this stuff in, it starts ploofing up and just gets in the air. You can actually see it in the air with the lighting right, and I've got tons of really bright lights, so you'll probably be able to see it. So I'm going to stop blabbing now. Again, over explaining things like I usually do. I'm going to find my respirator, and then I'm going to put this into a kind of a time warp situation, so it's nice and quick. And I'll show you what I'm going through to get all these 3 prepared, ready to go. Okay, so what I've basically done, and I tried to show it in that little time lapse there, that's what I'm kind of looking for as far as a mix. I want it to stay in place. That's it. That's as thick as I want it to be, because I do want some liquid to actually penetrate into the wood. Put too much filler in there, it basically soaks up all the liquid, and it doesn't adhere real well. So anyway, I did the same amount of resin in each one, and as you might have been able to pick up in the time lapse, put the same amount of filler in each one, mixed it individually, so that way I've got consistency across all of them. Just something that I do, I always pre-measure out my catalyst to the liquid that's in each cup, which you'll see in the next time lapse is I'll mix this up, the catalyst, into my filleting mix, and I'll go ahead and pre-dispense the next one. And I keep doing that in order to take the possibility of brain fade out of the equation, because nothing is any worse than scraping up uncured resin because you forgot to put catalyst in, or some other silly thing. So I'm trying to eliminate the fact that I get phone calls and texts and stuff like that, and I've got ADD. So you know, I'm constantly like the dog and up. I'm probably, you know, always going squirrel. So I try to work in a method that eliminates my potential for making dumb mistakes. So what I'm going to do now is, so basically I've got my filleting blend. I'm going to catalyze it, and then I have, this is my dispenser for filling a pastry bag. I get these off of Amazon. It's one of the few things that I get in the shop from Amazon. I try to stick with stuff that I know is good. There's nothing really wrong with Amazon, but I like consistency and performance, and that's not something I typically get from an Amazon delivery. So sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. These are a known brand. They're called Key Seal. They're piping bags. And this is what I use to dispense it into the area that I'm going to fill it. And then I'm going to come back with a small fillet tool. Again, something else that I make here out of a basically these guys here, which are spreaders for Bondo spreaders, as they're affectionately called in the automotive world. And I'll make a fillet tool and to the correct profile that I want, dispense them, fillet them in. So right now I'm just going to get to mixing and dispense them in the bag, and we'll check back with a little bit of an explainer once I get over to the frames. All right, so I've got my fillet mix here in my pastry bag, and I've got my tool ready. So basically all it is I'm going to work in a somewhat orderly fashion. Try to make sure that at least every one of these junctions has a fillet in it to keep it from moving. So I'm just going to get to it, and I'll try to speed this up so that you can see the process without having to spend an hour watching it. So. So I'm going to share a little tip. Resin, when it cures, creates heat. The easiest thing for me to do is throw this in the trash right now. But I don't, because this is going to create some heat as it cures. And you don't want that in a trash can. So you can have anything from paper to, you know, maybe a solvent or something like that that's residual, that's left in there. It's a great place to capture vapors. So if you're creating heat, this is how composite shops burn to the ground. And never ever throw one of these away. And that goes for the mixing cups as well. I usually set them out until they've cured, and that way I know that the batch cured, I don't have any issues, and it prevents any possibility that it goes in the trash, creates heat, and ultimately a fire. So that's my tip for today. Never throw anything with accumulated resin away in a trash can until you know it is fully cured and hard. Next day is a great rule of thumb. So this one's going to go over there, right beside the trash box. All right, so that concludes this part of the filleting exercise. I'll do a little quick close-up here to show you what I was shooting for. Basically, every single joint in this now has a fillet in it, so therefore it should be nice and stiff and strong. So once it cures, of course. So anyway, I've got to go cut up some wood, and I'll be back, and we'll start sheathing the outside of this thing. All right, so that's going to wrap up this video because it's going to get long in the tooth if I just keep going. So the next time you see this will be boxed in. Both of the sides will be boxed in, and we're going to move on to the next phase, which I've got a whole pile of material that was CNC cut that is behind the camera that I've got to start sorting through and putting it, you know, where it needs to go. on this frame system. So all of the big flat sections that could be CNC cut were cut out of 1/4" ply. And then I'm going to fill in the gaps, especially along here, so the hull shape is correct. I'm going to do that with 1/4" strips. And then I've got to manufacture or make some inside radiuses out of fiberglass that I'm going to build up layers of fiberglass, probably on a PVC tube as a form, so that I can form these inside radiuses and they be consistent. And it's just to save time down the road, because coming off of a known good form, that inside radius is going to be really, really consistent, and I won't have to sand that inside radius, and I will avoid that at all costs. So that's what's next on this is sheathing everything, and it's starting to look like the object that it's intended to, and that should be a big move forward. So 2 key takeaways from today. This is a little bit of my sick sense of humor. So my clown shoe was getting in the way. I'm not used to a size 12, so I was finding myself having to manipulate my foot with my hand, because this shoe is just so much longer. And the second thing, whenever I am crouched down and scrunched up and things like that, tuna fish is never a good lunch option. So let that be as it may. I'll see you next time.